Welcome to the first devlog series on the Space World channel. This is my second solo commercial game, and after gaining so much experience from the first commercial game, Mother's Home, I feel like I was ready to take on a bigger project. Although this one may be giving me a run for my money. Here soon I'm going to transition out of the prototype stage and into the art assets. But before I do, I'm going to share the prototype with you. That way you can kind of see a project in its early stages and just what it looks like before I start doing the art assets. Also, another dev on the channel mentioned that it would be cool to see what the project looks like a few months from now and kind of compare it to this video, and I do think it'd be kind of cool to go back and see. If you'd like to be on this journey with me, subscribe to the journey and stick around, and if at any point you feel like the game looks pretty interesting, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. Now let's jump to it. So this is my game so far. There isn't much, but there's more than meets the eye. This game is an FPS underwater boss battle game taking place in a theme park inside this pool. It is going to have a horror atmosphere with an underlying dark story. There's going to be some dark lore to this game. I'm going to take you through the core game loop of this game, but please use your imagination when it comes to the art assets. We're not there yet. So the player's going to start at the top of this giant water slide, aka this ramp. This is where the antagonist meets the player for the first time, and the antagonist will hand over a revolver and shove the player into the pool. The player will have a gun and a dodge. Now, since this is a boss battle game, this is what the player's mostly going to be doing, is just fighting bosses. And the first boss you approach is a shark, which my wife politely told me looks like a blimp, and she's really not wrong. Thumbs up if you agree with her. Now, while programming the shark, I had a lot of trouble at first creating a floating pond because the enemy would not register the nav mesh unless it was touching the ground. And that's kind of a problem when you're making an underwater game because really nothing's touching the ground. Now, I did find my way around this, so I've got the shark swimming around in its path. But now while the shark is swimming, there'll be a random point in time where the shark will turn to the player and charge at the player. During the time the shark is charging the player, the shark's mouth will be open and the player can shoot the shark for 5 times the damage. But if you get hit by the shark, it will create a bleeding effect for the player and attract more enemies. Regardless if the shark hits the player or not, it'll keep going in that direct line until it comes in contact with a wall. And once it hits the wall, I haven't programmed this in yet. Right now it just rotates, but I'm hoping to do like a little bit of camera shake and have some debris from the pool falling off to just give it that extra oomph. But when it does hit that wall, it'll rotate and go back to its point and start swimming around the pool again. While battling any of the bosses in my game, I also wanted to throw in the threat of a lot of basic enemies. I won't go over all the basic enemies of this game, but if you were wondering why there's neon pink floating jellyfish everywhere, that is one of them. If the player gets close to one of these, it's going to create an electrocute effect. It'll slowly drain the player's health while also reducing the speed of the player. Now, they're not actually going to be pink and glowing. I honestly just needed a new aesthetic to look at because I was kind of getting sick of just seeing all gray. But honestly, I kind of like it. But the plan here is to keep the player constantly looking for threats while they're also having to face the boss. Now, here's where things get dark. After the success of killing a boss, the player is going to be presented with a shop, and this shop is controlled by the antagonist. And all the offers in this shop is going to make the player's life easier. Items like fins to help the player move faster, pistol upgrades, etc., etc. I won't go into all the items, but there's going to be quite a bit of them. But any offers that you accept is going to come at a price. And that price is something that the player will not know until the game progresses. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the shop system has been probably one of the hardest systems that I've worked on in this game because with Mother's Home, I didn't really have much of a UI to begin with, so jumping from that to a shop inventory was a little bit daunting. I mean, I'm just horrible at UI in general, but I think I really like the direction that it's going, and I did draw up some concepts of what I want the UI to look like. And while I'm doing the 3D art for the game, I'm probably going to hire somebody out to do the UI art. That's one thing in the budget that I'm trying to put aside. Now, once you decide to finish looking at the offers, and you can decide to get them or you can decide to not get any of them. Once you close out of that shop, there's going to be a main drain in the middle of the pool, and this is where the player will be sucked into the drain, and it'll start a cutscene. Now, one thing as a gamer myself that I hate and despise is cutscenes that last for 10 minutes. So any game that I make, I want the cutscenes to be super condensed, but you get a lot of the story out of it. And the cutscenes in this game are pretty short, but it'll give you the history of the theme park and history of the owner. Now, after the cutscene, the player will enter back into the pool through the same drain, and this will start the next boss. And now for each boss, you're gonna have new basic enemies, there's gonna be new offers available, and the bosses are going to get harder. And that's pretty much the game. The sad thing is I actually drew out the entire map. I hand drew the map for the theme park, and I loved it. And I was like, I wanted to make it where you fight each boss in a different attraction, but I am just one person, so it's kind of impossible. It's just too big of a scope. So everything's happening inside the pool, but if this game does good, I might go back and make a second part to this game. Because a lot of the attractions that I hand drew in the map are actually like custom attractions that I came up with. Guys, I wanted to get in the mindset of the antagonist of this game. He's a very important part of the game, so I really wanted to understand him. But I'm going to start transitioning out of the prototype stage and onto the art assets, and I'm really wanting to create a vertical slice to this game so I can get a demo out as soon as possible. But of course, I'm not going to just shove something out the door that's trash. So probably later on in the year, I'll be able to get that demo out. Please be on the lookout for that. I'm hoping to get it to a better state. And the next few devlogs will probably be art asset creation and stuff like that. So it's probably gonna be less programming. Like I'll say, I'm not a fantastic programmer. I'm not a fantastic artist. I really think my strong points is storytelling, so I lean pretty heavily onto that. I cannot wait to show you more of what this game's going to become, and I get so excited as it gets a little bit further each day. I really hope you enjoyed this devlog, and thank you for watching. Take care, guys.